Good morning. It's Amanda here sharing a bit of encouragement for your day. My very last class of my master's, I decided to take a class on Christian spirituality today. So we're exploring different themes in spirituality and looking at how different traditions approach spirituality. And one of the things that we've been talking about lately is how our walk with God often feels like a kind of a solitary activity. It's just me and God, and we spend time alone, and that's how we build our relationship. And to a certain extent, that is very true. My relationship with God depends on how much time I spend with Him alone. But I think we also forget that a huge part of the Christian life is done in community. And I know right now, when we aren't gathering together every week physically, it kind of feels even more like it's a solitary walk with just you and God, and that other people aren't really involved in it. But I want to encourage you to keep in mind that your walk with God also involves other people. It's not just you alone working on what you're working on. And it's important to include other believers in your walk. So on Sunday, Don talked about bearing each other's burdens. So he read a couple of verses in Galatians that I'm just going to read for you now. So Galatians 6, verse 1 and 2 says this: "Brothers and sisters, if someone is caught in a sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. But watch yourselves, or you also may be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." So Scripture tells us to carry each other's burdens. Now, I know, as someone who's gone to church her whole life, and who's professed to be a Christian since I was 4, the thought of letting someone else in on the things I'm struggling with is really hard. I think sometimes we, especially for those of us who've been going to church forever, we have this idea in our head that if we're a mature Christian and that we've been following Jesus for a long time, that we shouldn't struggle with some of the things that we struggle with. It should be, yes, God has given me victory over sin, and so now I don't struggle with this anymore. But as you all know, that's not exactly true. I know that some things that I struggled with 5 years ago, I'm still struggling with now. And it's the same things over and over, and it feels like I'm learning the same lessons about God and about who He says I am over and over. And sometimes when we don't see progress and we just see ourselves struggling and maybe failing again and again, it kind of can, we can get lost in the shame of that, in the shame of sin. And I don't know about you, but when I'm feeling ashamed, I don't want to just call up a friend and be like, "Hey, guess what happened?" I want to hide. Just like Adam and Eve in the garden, when they sinned and they knew they sinned, they hid themselves from God. And that can be a natural instinct for people who have been at church a long time. Like, I'm not going to let them into that. I don't want to air my dirty laundry at church, because church is the place that you come and everything's great and you worship God together. But Scripture tells us something different. It says that if you catch someone in sin, if someone's caught in sin, if somebody's struggling, restore the person gently. It doesn't say if someone's caught in sin, look down on them and say, you should have known better because you've been going to church a long time. No, it says if someone's caught in sin, restore them gently, bring them back into the fold. And then it says, carry each other's burdens. So it's not just saying like, I caught you sinning, see you later, you're not part of this community anymore. Absolutely not. It says carry each other's burdens, walk with each other through the hardship of sin, and walk with each other as you restore one another. And I think that is a very different way of looking at church and community and our relationship with God. It's just not a me and God and that's it. It's other believers who willingly embrace you whether or not you are sinful, because we're all sinful. And I think sometimes there is fear when it comes to confessing sin to other people and just letting people in on those burdens that we need help carrying. But I hope and I pray this week that you will find a release from shame, and that that burden of sin will be released from you, and that you find somebody that you can confess to and talk to and help carry each other's burdens. And I just pray that our church community and your Christian community can be a place that is that shame doesn't exist, that it's just not a thing, and that we can join together as believers and understand that, yes, this is hard. Following Jesus is not easy, but we're here with all of our dirty laundry to share with one another and to help each other carry that burden. I hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you online next Sunday.